Mimosas with Michael. Mimosas with Michael. Mimosas with Michael. Yay!
Okay, so should we do this?
Sure.
Okay, let's toast our glasses.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mimosas with Michael. This is your host, Michael Colomb, and I have a really special guest today. I have Ben Patrick Johnson. Do you use all three names?
I do, but you can just call me Ben.
Just call you Ben.
It's always that people will oftentimes look at my name, Ben Patrick Johnson. They will either call me Patrick or, okay, Mr. Patrick. And I think, well, no, that's neither my first name nor my last name. But
They don't see that Johnson?
Well, they don't see that, and they don't see Ben. It happens a lot. We were talking about a lift. I took a lift over here to the studio.
Yeah.
And very frequently, as I get in one of the cars, they'll say, Patrick, and I will say, Ben Patrick, yes.
Wonder
if
why
you
that-
start at the beginning on the left, you will see the name is Ben, but that's okay, you know.
That's fun. And it's like three letters.
It is three letters, and they're not tough ones, really. One, second letter of the alphabet, which you
Yeah.
learn probably at age 5.
Yeah.
Well, most of us did. Some of us took it was a little later, but
A little
that's
later.
all right.
Just a little. And E's not too far after that.
No, it's really not. It's still towards the beginning of the alphabet, and N is really barely even halfway through.
Well, N's like right, and maybe they haven't got that far yet.
Maybe not. Well, you know, like when I was not good at studying in school, and I would get through the first few chapters. So maybe they haven't gotten that far in their alphabet yet.
That's what I'm thinking.
Although I'm frightened if they are driving me in
Yeah.
a car and they haven't gotten through the
But
alphabet.
even if they just said like B.
Just call me,
But
that's fine.
then you know who they're
go
talking
with that. That'll
So
work.
Ben Patrick Johnson. I've had the pleasure of, I've known you for a couple years. You did a reading of something I wrote.
Yeah, we were debating whether it was 2 years or like 25 years. We
you know,
you claim it's the shorter interval, and I don't know.
I don't know. At our age, I feel like every year just,
I
you have
seem
to
to
make them
remember
count.
kindergarten and things, and so yeah.
No, it was like, I'm going to say 2 years ago.
All right.
And one of my college friends is a huge fan of your work. So she was excited because she was here a couple weeks ago at the studio filming. Or I'm sorry, I say filming because I work in film, but recording. And I told her, I was like, Ben's going to be on the show. She's like, oh, I love him. He's so great.
Did she sound that excited?
Yeah, well,
that's not very
well,
enthusiastic.
it was over text, so I'm just assuming.
Oh, I understand.
But she was at the reading, so she met you.
Okay, sure, all right.
Yeah.
So what Michael's referring to is we did a reading of a really very interesting stage play that he'd written
Yes.
a couple of years back ago here on. For me, everything happens on one side of the hill if you're in LA, or the other side of the hill, and this is the other side. We're in
Yeah.
the valley.
I do everything
So I
on
came to the valley to do a reading for Michael.
And I appreciate it because that's not an easy trek.
No, it's really not.
It's not.
And really, that was, if you're going to do a large work project, you have to figure that at least mentally, the journey over is going to be the bulk of the stress you will encounter.
And it's like if I have to film, because I live here in the valley, so if I have to film anywhere like away,
Yeah.
Oh, I should pay attention to what time we start. Then I have to like factor in the like it's an hour to take me there, or it's gonna take me an hour and 40. Because you don't really
Yes.
like you can go 10 miles and it could take you
Sure.
an hour.
And I don't know if people are listening, if they just hear the little airplane
The airplane,
sound.
yeah.
Well, and that's just, that actually, we didn't do it on purpose, but it identifies where we are as being very close to the Burbank Airport.
Oh yeah, because I've been doing the show here for like several months
Well,
now.
all right
So
then.
no, but we always talk about it because
Sure.
sometimes there's some that are like just like that was really kind of far away, and then there's some that's
sure.
like it's just all you can hear is.
Well, if we can get a good flight, we might want to just jump over there and get on it. If one's landing, we could get on it and go somewhere. Where would you want to go?
I mean, I love traveling.
Sure.
I went to London earlier this year for my birthday.
Out of Burbank?
No,
Well,
no,
there
I
you
went.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
so let's. I don't know. I like.
We could go to Vegas.
Vegas
out of
is good.
Burbank.
That's a nice-
good. We could go to Salt Lake,
That's true. I was in Salt Lake City last year filming. So
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's
you
easy
could
to
go
get
back
to.
and revisit the places where you filmed, sort
Yeah.
of a memory tour.
I'd like that'd be great.
All right.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
So you are okay. So tell me, you're a voiceover actor. That's mostly
Yes,
what you're known
that's
for.
most of my employment. I do promos and trailers for movies and television programs, and I also do some commercials, and I read audiobooks, and because one must be diverse, I tell you, to make a living nowadays.
Yeah.
And just this afternoon, I was doing, I was at a studio nearby here, doing a new character for the Paladins video game series.
Oh, nice.
And it was one of those. Bad news, good news things. The bad news is that the character, this villainous character who's dead, it's kind of hard to explain. he's killed within this game. So
Okay.
one would think, well, wah wah. But he has this thing about getting reanimated a lot. So there's a chance that like on a soap opera, potentially he could be reanimated, and if I've managed to impress. I don't know who I'd impress, but
well, hopefully that
come back. Well, yes, come back and be in another episode and be additionally menacing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we want that for you.
Well, thank you.
And what else? Well, tell me more about yourself.
Well,
catch me up on what's going on since the last 25 years I've seen you.
Yes, since kindergarten, which would be if we were in kindergarten at 25. You just paid us a huge compliment.
I did.
Good gracious. Well,
the biggest I could give you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been a little up and down. But there's one thing about I have to thank Hollywood for always employing me.
Yeah.
There's not been a day that's gone by in my adult life that there hasn't been some bit of something that this town has put forward and said, here, we'll do this,
Oh, nice.
And whether it's just auditions or work or this, or whether on camera or voiceover or writing, people still haven't figured out that I have not a lick of talent. And so they continue to put employment my way, and I'm just grateful beyond grateful for that.
But you have a great voice. And you have very positive energy.
Well,
I know
thanks.
every time I see you, you're just like very uplifting.
Well, it's the helium, really, that causes that
whatever
more
it
than anything
takes.
else. All right, well,
No
yes.
judgment here.
Yeah.
For me, it's the mimosas, so it's perfect.
Well, see, you know what? Yes, because
do what it takes.
Although alcohol and helium, I'm not sure if that's really a recipe for. Well, certainly not a recipe for driving. I don't think one should, drink a bunch and then inhale a bunch of helium and go down the road. But we're not driving here.
Sounds
really.
like a good podcast segment.
Well, okay, and
alcohol and helium.
Alcohol and helium. There was
with Ben Patrick Johnson.
Yes. I lived in St. Paul, Minnesota. I grew up there, and just across the state line in Wisconsin, there was a store called Guns, Liquor, and Ammo. And they sold guns, liquor, and ammo.
Yeah.
And that just seemed like maybe things you'd at least want to kind of separate out and have to go out of one entrance and go into the next
One-stop
door.
shop.
No, it's just all right there.
Really?
Yes.
I love the Midwest for that.
Well, got a lot, especially Wisconsin. You can buy, also Minnesota, fireworks were illegal on the 4th of July, where they were restricted, I should say. But you could drive just, 5 miles across to Wisconsin and buy things that blow up right in your hands and face.
Yep.
Pronto.
Kind of what we do here when people cross the border and come back.
Exactly.
Because we're here in LA.
Exactly.
Yeah. And most people don't realize, Los Angeles is all desert for the most part.
Pretty
it's
much.
so hot.
Well, my apartment is. I mean, I don't know about your place. Mine definitely qualifies as desert.
It's not as hot as a studio.
No, this studio is warm. I will grant you this. I was so excited to come into an air-conditioned space and sit on it. And it was
up, I'm sorry.
Marginally air-conditioned when we came in.
Yeah, he tries to do that for me so I don't make you suffer for the 30 minutes.
Well, you know what? If I suffer for 30 minutes for the opportunity to sit and chat with you and have a make-believe mimosa and be on the interwebs, well, I think it's a good bargain.
I'll give you a drink after we're done.
Well, thank you. I don't, but yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm in recovery, so I'm not drinking alcohol, but I can pretend to.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, acting.
I think so. I have a young friend in recovery who's in AA, and I know I shouldn't name it as such, but I just did, didn't I?
Yeah.
And he just turned 21.
Okay.
And he's a bit of a kind of a rapscallion, street ruffian type, but he's a lot of fun and just the sweetest kid. And he wanted to go out on his birthday with friends, go out to clubs. And, what do you do when you turn 21? You go drinking. So bless his heart, he went out, and his big goal, he wanted to have virgin vodka shots, which basically is little glasses with water in them.
Perfect.
But you slam back and then say some thing at your friend. And, it's... I would have to think, what a colossal disappointment. But by the same token, you got to figure someone who's 21, who's in a recovery program, probably has had cocktails prior to that.
Oh yeah,
but not some just at cocktails, probably a bunch of things. Yeah.
But did he have fun?
Well, he says he did.
Well, that's all that matters.
They only stayed out for half an hour because really, if you're drinking little glasses of water at a gay bar.
Then you have to go to the bathroom.
And always also if you're straight.
Yeah.
We had that.
I guess that doesn't matter.
A 21-year-old straight kid at a gay bar. Because, everyone in our little group of recovery folks are primarily gay. So there's sort of two gunkles, if you will, gay uncles. Take him out to the gay bar and he drinks little glasses of water. That's how to ring in 21, I tell you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you got to, at least he was being safe.
Yes, I suppose so. He was indeed being very safe. There was not a chance of anything untoward happen unless he were to fall off the into the car or something.
Exactly.
As they were leaving.
Yeah. Fall in front of a bus.
It would be terrible.
I'm glad that he was able to take care of it being so young.
Yes,
because
yes.
some people just don't. They just
Isn't
kind
that
of
amazing?
Yeah.
I was sitting in a 12-step meeting not that long ago with a friend who was reasonably young, and the speaker got up and said some things and talked about their length of sobriety, and my friend exclaimed to me that person had been sober longer than he'd been alive, and that is quite a concept to wrap your head around, you know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when I meet young people, like when I'm on set and I've been in the film industry for about like 13 years, but I started when I was 30. And so I'll meet people who basically like my nephew's age, and they're like, yeah, like they started not long after I,
Right.
when they were, I was like,
Your contemporaries in the business.
yeah. But at the same
You can
time,
call them junior.
yeah,
you know,
it's so
realistically.
strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that day would happen when I get older and I have to be like, because I used to be like the youngest guy. Now I'm like one of the older ones. And like I'm the mentor. I'm the guy that helps people.
You're the one who guides them through life and gives them advice. Yeah, I try to do that with younger people, but I have a lot of squirrely notions in my head, so I'm not necessarily the most. I wouldn't say the most trustworthy, but the most useful, because I'm the one who the stuff that would probably be a bad idea. Like, don't do it that way. Well, that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
Like the cut and run and this and kind of thing. I'm not talking about like not paying for your food at a restaurant or something like that.
Of course.
But just stuff, just things. Like changing the oil in the car. Well, maybe you pour it in this hole. I don't know.
Yeah, you just
let's pour it in here and see what happens.
Hey, I try. Like I've been invited to talk to schools before, so I try to at least give good advice. But I mean, I never tried to be an actor. I always wanted to be a writer and a director. So like the advice I can give is only so limited. But I do try to at least help them out to understand the business of the industry.
Sure.
Which is not always easy. Which seems to change all the time, anyways. Because now we're in a social media age, and it's just like what? Yeah, it's all new.
One thing that's interesting is I grew up, as probably you did, in a fairly traditional environment.
Yeah.
A quote-unquote normalish Midwestern home and such. And as I'm an adult, I encounter people of all kinds of backgrounds, and younger people, older people. It's very interesting to talk to someone who's young, who's also very street smart in ways that I'm not, and seek life advice and practical advice from them. Because sometimes they will give you the darn best advice you ever could not, that I would not have thought of.
Yeah.
How to handle a situation. And it's funny, to be taking advice from a 16-year-old or a 20-year-old on how to handle a situation that I, at the ripe age of 49, I'm going, I don't know how the hell to do this.
Yeah.
And they're handy, so you just, I bounce the question up them. Hey, how would you handle this? And whoa, I'll get a dissertation of I thought, Ann Landers wrote it or something coming out of this person.
Isn't life fascinating?
It is fascinating.
So I believe I remember saying that you're an activist.
Well, I am.
Okay.
But what is, I use that label, but sometimes I don't even know really what it means. To me, activist means that I keep certain issues forward in my mind, and I'm constantly barking about them on social media, and I will show up for a demonstration. I will show up for this or that. I will,
Well, what are the
reach out to my Congress people and such.
What are the biggest things you're passionate about then?
Well, right now I'm terrifically frustrated with the way our current administration in Washington
As
is,
I'm sure so many people are.
Well, yes, but is rolling back, and not just civil rights, not just LGBT rights, not just the rights of Muslim Americans and other minorities.
Yeah.
Through a combination of policy, bird whistling, and moving the ticker opinion-wise.
Yeah.
But I'm horrified at the way the level of discourse in our country, I believe, has fallen, and it's not entirely the fault of Mr. Trump or any particular person in his administration. There's a lot of other elements that come into play, both perhaps foreign interference. I say perhaps. We're just waiting basically to find out the particulars and the details. It is. It is a thing that is.
No, they know that it's true. They just don't know the particulars.
But then also social media. I mean, I'm very active on social media, and I have a love-hate relationship with it. Well, yes. But I really do, Michael. Mine is large. My love and my hate of Twitter and Facebook and Insta.
I will tell you, most of the guests that I have on the show, we always hit this point about social media.
Yeah.
About how we love hate it.
It is, It is a thing, and that's ridiculous. It is what we put into it, and it is what we do with it. And there's certainly influence from the algorithms and such, which shape what we see.
Yeah.
But by the same token, anything that we see has to be created.
Of
has
course,
to be
yeah.
and usually it is created by people we know. Not always, but the nature of social media is that it is an extension of organic relationships, one would presume.
Yeah.
And although it's also now become a genesis point for relationships as well. And I have, for instance, I have a goddaughter whom I've never met, whose mother I met on social media a few years back, and we became very close. And she asked me to be the godparent of her child. And
That's
I am.
amazing.
And I have other friends that I talk to every single day that live, anywhere from 100 miles away to 10,000 miles away, who I've never met in person. We only know each other through social media. But I can tell you about their growing up. I can tell you about their mother. I can tell you how her dementia, is this week versus last week, and how it's weighing on their heart or not, because we are daily correspondents.
It is quite interesting how we're social and social on the social media platform, and at the same time it feels like we're distant in so many other ways.
It is distancing in the sense that we lose oftentimes some of the basic courtesies and I would say societal rules of conversation.
I would think so.
There's this emboldening that happens when we're sitting behind a keyboard, clickety clacking, and we're angry. We don't filter as much as we perhaps would otherwise. Well, I should say we certainly don't filter as much as we would otherwise, and perhaps we ought to filter better.
I agree.
But by the same token, it affords us an opportunity, because when we're responding to something, if you and I are sitting talking in real time, and you say something either that irks me, or you ask me a question, it is anticipated that I'll give you a response, certainly within a second or two.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to sit there and blink at you. But
unless you're a politician.
Well, unless I'm a politician, unless I'm Sarah Sanders. But and that's a lot of blinking. But with social media, same as with text messaging, any electronic communication such as that is text-based, again, there's not the anticipation of an absolute immediate response. You have a few seconds to a minute to however long really you need. I wouldn't wait 2 hours, but you've got a little while to consider what you're going to say and perhaps even revise it, type it out, look at it, let it resonate. No, that's me being an asshole, so I'm going to sort of reel it back in a little bit and speak a little more gently. And I've used that tool many times, and I'm trying to learn to then have that carry over into real life, whereby I can be more gracious. And I was just posting about this on social media yesterday, using the tool I found of delay, of momentary reflection, to be more gracious on social media. Using that in every aspect of my life as I go about through the world, and I'm terrible at it. I'm just awful, but I'm working on it.
Well, okay, so I'm wondering, because I think about this sometimes, about how it's. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That's so funny. I can't hear myself for a second.
Well, you know what? Unplug your ear. If you ever go in the public swimming pool and you come out and you can't hear yourself, you just wiggle your finger in the ear. Same principle here.
Okay. I was adjusting myself. I'm looking at the time. So, do you think that sort of platform changes when it comes to like dating apps?
I think in dating apps, it's a different dynamic. I think a lot of the rules still apply, or ought to, but it's a different dynamic because we're thinking with, pardon the pun, a different head. We're coming from an immediate sort of hungry place as opposed to a thoughtful, maybe more considerate place.
Well, and that's so true. But I remember when I was younger. I mean, I'm not older, but we're talking we've only had social media probably in the last 6, 7, 8, 10 years, right?
Well, it's been around. No, a lot of us were present for America Online back in the 1990s, and then there was when AOL was very large. Following that in the early 00s. So I would give it 20 years. I would say. But
even before then, we have apps like Grindr and Tinder.
Yes.
So for us to go out and find somebody, we actually went out to a bar, or we meet people at the grocery store or within our daily lives. And I remember when Grindr first came out, it was really about helping people in smaller areas that were afraid to come out to find other people to talk to.
Oh, it certainly had that use, yes.
Yeah, and I knew there was chat rooms like that. So I'm just wondering, but now that we've lived in this culture for 10, 12, how long it's been around. I just feel like that sort of has changed. So now people won't respond if they don't want to. They just, the way they talk to you is differently.
Well, when something like that is new, there's this shininess to it and this
Yeah, of
excitement, and you're gonna, I think it's natural to and where the assorted, it's easy to be jaded, and it's easy to sort of be complacent. That I think that's in any aspect of life. Certainly, though, I agree with you completely that one role that, and they may still, the apps may still, Grindr, Scruff, all of those, and I'm thinking primarily in the gay community because generally one is not ostracized in the straight community for trying to hook up or have a date with somebody.
Of course,
you're not likely to get beat up for it. Maybe in certain odd communities, but not generally. Anyhow, but for gay folks in small towns, I think it may still serve that function as a connection point, a nexus for where what might otherwise be scary or prohibitive can now occur because there is the one-step removed safety of having it be an electronic connection and the ease of having it be right in your hands on your telephone.
Yeah, and you can hide it, or you can be in your room at
right.
night.
You can have that sort of privacy thing to a degree. But I think that even in the small towns, there's a bit of complacency rolling in, and we will be that human beings. When we have something, when something becomes comfortable and becomes familiar to us, we take things for granted.
Yeah,
our liberties and privileges and such. And you and I were joking about coming into this space in Burbank, California. No, it's a little too warm. Blah blah blah.
Right, exactly.
I was saying, boy, we have first world problems, don't we?
Yeah, we really do.
As it's clean and it's sanitary, and it's very unlikely that someone's going to come bursting through the door and
we're in a
take
very
all our
safe neighborhood
stuff or whatever. Yeah.
We're
very blessed.
Well, and to that extent, like I said, 2 years ago, I did film a movie in Jamaica, and it was in July, and it was so hot, and a lot of the people that were on the crew who weren't American would go home to their house that had no AC. Sometimes they would ration water in areas, and then I went back to a hotel that had AC and water
and cable for that matter.
Yeah, and I could and Wi-Fi.
My goodness,
and stuff, and it's just like, and all like I mean, I tried not to complain. It was hot, and I'm from Southern California, so like having that humidity just it fucked me up. But yes, first world problems, and it's like sometimes we have to realize because I feel so bad. You're sitting here sweating, and I'm just like. This poor guy.
But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. And in the scope of things, as I said, I'm happy to be here.
It's like we're sitting. I should call this sauna with Michael.
It is, a sweat lodge. I was thinking later we could talk about our spirit animals.
We should talk about our spirit animals.
Yes.
I wonder what my spirit animal would be.
I was thinking for a while that Kim Kardashian was my spirit animal. Didn't really work out, but I'm still shopping around. Heather Locklear may be my spirit animal.
I can actually see that.
We can have because humans are animals, right? So we could actually choose a human as our spirit animal. Yeah, Heather Locklear, because she's just sort of this lioness cougar who just seemed to just go decades without aging and was kind of that mostly good but a little evil here and there, and at least in her characters. And I could dance to that one.
I have to poll the audience to see what they think. My spirit.
Who is Michael's spirit animal?
Okay, that's my. We'll do that for next
question. Okay.
Yeah, I like that question.
Yeah,
that's a good one. See what else do I want to know? So that you're just doing voiceover work.
I wouldn't say morning till night. It's not a monolith. I'm also,
of course,
active on social media and yapping about politics and this and that. No, we were talking about things about activism, and I was telling you about my frustration with the current administration, really.
Which I think we all have that.
Well, I don't know if we all do. Well, you know what? I think really a lot of us do. But there are a certain number of folks who have made the choice to back Mr. Trump regardless. And I realize that it only has a certain amount of... If we point out each time he lies, and he lies through his teeth, Mr. Trump lies more frequently than most Americans urinate. Did you know that?
No, but that's an interesting fact. I like that.
It's an odd statistic, but so next time you're in the bathroom, just think about that the president's probably lying.
I pee a lot too, so that's
okay. So the more you drink, so that you're the one. If you would drink less liquid, sir, we might not have quite as much of a culture of lies.
Okay, no more peeing for Michael.
Oh my goodness. No, but there was a survey that they some of these fact checkers, including the folks at Fox News, among others, from the day he was elected, and we determined that he lies to us publicly, lies about 7.5 times per day, which is just slightly greater than the number, the average, based on medical studies that Americans urinate.
That's crazy.
Yes. Now I don't know if in Europe they urinate more or less frequently than we do. That's
I don't know.
beyond my pay grade.
But I know that I did see a statistic not that long ago. Omarosa was talking about, because she's doing this whole book tour, and of course I usually record this ahead of time, so who knows where we'll be there.
Who knows when this will air? Omarosa, she could be president by the time this airs.
Exactly.
Could be.
But she was saying that she said that Trump likes the discourse that he causes.
Well,
which is interesting.
I think Mr. Trump likes attention.
Well, exactly.
He loves attention, and I don't think anyone loves to be, called potty names or playground taunts. But I think he would be more mortified to not hear his name invoked.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and it's clear, and well, yeah, he's always been a pot stirrer, also.
That is true. Yeah.
And so he's people talk about him being an imbecile. Well, whether he's intellectually brilliant or not, he will call people dumb. I certainly won't call Mr. Trump dumb. I think he's smart, and I think he's incredibly savvy in certain areas, in certain ways.
Yeah.
And I think to not acknowledge that is to engage in the sort of sophistry that's dangerous. And no one who really wants to take a good hard look at politics ought to treat this man as dumb, because you're putting yourself in a very disadvantaged position by not having a realistic perspective on your opponent.
Exactly. I mean, that's how he did become president.
Yes, he did become president.
So, because we're actually getting kind of close to the end here.
Okay.
Which is good, because we can put the air back on.
Well, all right.
What advice would you give? Because you say you meet a lot of younger people.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of them come to you and be like,
sure,
how could I get started?
Well, in voiceovers or otherwise. And
just life advice.
Yeah. Well, in terms of voiceovers, I can encapsulate that pretty easily. Practice, practice, practice. The old joke is, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
Yeah. True.
Just do voiceovers. Perform them as you walk through your day. Transcribe commercials that you hear. Look at stuff on the internet. Copy and paste, and just read it out loud and listen to yourself. Record it. Hear it back. Every person listening to this podcast has a device that can record them and play their own voice back. I promise you, it's right there. If it's not in your hand, it's sitting in the desk in front of you. It's on your headset. So do that. And then from that point, there are lots of workshops and intro classes through community colleges and learning annexes and so forth. If you're in a big city or even a medium-sized town, there are resources for you with that.
So true.
As far as life, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Agree with that.
That's really about it.
Yep.
Yes. Follow the golden rule and pay attention. Be present in the moment. The past exists, the future exists, but all you got is right here, right now. And if you skip the right here, right now, there is no past and there's no point to the future. So
true. What would you want to be remembered for? I just want to end it that way. Because, I mean, I know you're only 49 and you're just still growing, but what one thing would you want to be remembered for? Because you do so many things. You were a model at one time. You're an actor, you're a voiceover, you're an activist.
Back in the old country, I was a model. We didn't have electricity, so we sketched each other. I was a terrible sketcher.
That's right.
Very sketchy. No, my God. Sketchy. No, what would I want to be remembered for? Yeah. For showing up. And when I say showing up, I mean really showing up, being present, not phoning life in.
Okay.
But being very present in my life and very present for others in their lives. Making a commitment, not being so scared that I would avoid vulnerability by just sort of dancing around the edges, but really going at life full bore, straight down the middle.
Well, I think there's a power in being vulnerable at certain points.
Mm-hmm.
I think people look at vulnerability as a weakness.
Yes.
But I find that sometimes people who are vulnerable are human, and I like that about them. That's what I like, anyways.
Sure. So, I'll go along with you on that.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you coming. I know it goes fast. Like,
it does go quickly.
Unless you're sitting in this hot sauna, then it's like, this is the longest.
But it's sort of like therapy. Like, my God, it's been 55 minutes. Unless they ask you a tough question where you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Like, why do I?
Gosh.
You can cuss. It's okay.
But you didn't ask me, any of those kind of questions.
No, I just wanted to have you on the show. I haven't seen you in a while since we did the reading.
Yes, it's been a minute.
And I just wanted to catch up with you.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
That's what the podcast is for. It's just to come bring, and then you do so much. Like I said, I love everything you do. I've followed you on social media for years.
Thank you.
And I've always been a fan of yours. So, like, I'm honored that you're here. I feel bad that I couldn't give you this nice air conditioned.
But you know what?
I
That
love
really
this place.
that's outside of your control.
No.
I'll come back again when it's a cool day, and then you can brag on that.
Well, you know what we'll do? We'll record again like in the winter.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and we'll be here like parkas and well, not parkas because we can't.
And we can complain about that then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so damn cold, Michael. Why is it so cold in this studio? It's cold, cold, cold. I hate it. Ah.
Can't win.
Oh.
No, these people are great for letting me use. And you can tell they love horror movies.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I thought it was just for me, but no, I guess they do.
No, well, because I work.
There's memorabilia and posters up all around the studio from horror films, from House on the Lake and
Yeah.
what's this one? The Act 2, The Father of Death.
Yeah.
Which, you know, when you're in a sort of a small to medium-sized guest house bunkerish thing, and it's 170,000 degrees in here, and all the windows are blocked, and you've got these posters around.
Just for
well,
noise.
it is enough to inspire fear.
Yep. That's what we want. Well, it's because I have to block out the damn noise.
Well, I understand. Who
Yeah.
wouldn't? Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I get it.
Anyways, I'll let you go. We're going to
Thank you,
wrap it
sir.
up. You guys, thank you so much for listening. Again, this is Ben Patrick Johnson. How can people find you on social media?
Well, they can go to @benpatrick90069
Perfect.
on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and you'll find me there sitting talking about something that hopefully is at least halfway.
And we'll put all of your links into the... anyways, this is Michael Colon with Mimosas with Michael. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, YouTube. I mean, just Google Mimosas with Michael. We're everywhere. Have a great day. Thank you.